All right, I'm going to go over how to do a web scrape of a data table on a website, bring it into R. This is one we're going to work with. Let's see. Political party strength in the U.S. states. So I want to make a map of this, but also potentially crunch the data. In R, here's the, let's see, is that here's the table I wanted, this big one. So it's breaking down which state is more Republican or more Democratic based on the most recent presidential election, who their governor is, etc. You can see. There's also a partisan split if you want to do some fun statistical stuff. That's as of 2017, so the dates are a little off. There's also election data from 2018 and 2019. You can see this is as of 2019. So just things to keep in mind if you're doing comparative analysis. So here's the URL for that website. If you don't have RVest, you'd have to install it. After that, you want to load it. Let's see, I'm going to create a variable called Wikipedia, and it's going to be a read HTML function. So since it's a function, it's got parentheses. And all we have to plug in here is that URL, so I just pasted that. Let me run that line. You know, if we looked at Wikipedia right now, it would be a mess. What we basically did is just grab a whole web page. We're going to look at the tables in this document, and that's an HTML node. So HTML nodes, Wikipedia, comma, table. And basically what that means is it's looking into your HTML, tags, and it's looking for table, which is a HTML tag that's used pretty heavily on Wikipedia. Let me run that line. So basically we said, Wikipedia is the whole page. Tables is just the tables on the page. And clicking noise behind me as usual is my dog Julep, who is tap dancing his way around our room, considering whether or not he should eat his food. Sorry if that's bothering you. US tables is, I'm trying to grab that table of the US data, so that's what I'm going to call this one. I guess it's just US table, whatever. Wikipedia, and now we're going to get tidy, so make sure you have the tidyverse loaded, of course. Let's see. So we're going to do HTML nodes, just like we did above, table. This part's a little weird and codey. We're going to have to say dot and then square brackets and 4. Let me throw a pipe in. Let me just finish this line and I'll explain. HTML table fill equals true. So if you don't have fill equals true, it's just going to grab the table without any content in it. So you definitely want that. So what is this 0.4? Or it's not 0.4, it's just 4. It's referring to this being the 4th instance of the table tag on the page. Now, I've already gone through this process and found that this is the 4th table. Oftentimes, you have to do it more than once. You can see there's a table right here. I mean, probably, right? We're not looking at the source code here where we could actually dig through it, but the source code on Wikipedia is pretty long. Let's see. If I remember right, I believe this table of contents and the side navigation are both assembled as tables. So you can always assume there's going to those are going to be the first 2 tables on Wikipedia, and then if you the next one, the first thing that you consider a table of content would be 3. So here's the one we're grabbing 4. It's pretty long. Let's see, did I run that? Probably not. So we'll run that. It's thinking. So we've basically got what we want now. We need to change its format. That's really all we're doing here. I'm gonna, in case you don't have it already, I'll do install packages Tibble. Remember, Tibble is a tidy data frame. I've already installed this, so I'm just gonna say library Tibble. Okay. Let's see. Let's do. We probably didn't need that because we're just gonna do the as data frame. So that's probably old code, but. As data frame, US_TBLS, that's our variable up here. And let's set that equal to US states. So it thinks for a minute. I should have made a data table. So we do view US, oops, states, thank you. And we can confirm that this is actually the table we were looking at. On Wikipedia. Now you'll notice a few things that kind of look like typos. You'll most often see them in the header. So you can see up here, X 2016 presidential election. We understand what that is. It's just not, you know, the cleanest thing in the world to read. And then if we look at, there's some numbers up here, like state senate 27-8, Republican 77-28. So what is that coming from? Let's go back to our table. You can see that, you know, that's the ratio. The problem is these are strings. So if we wanted to do anything with these numbers, we either have to strip out the text and convert it to numeric data, or probably just make a new table, mutate or something. I don't know why we'd need to do that, but I'm just throwing it out there. I also wanted to point out there's often when you scrape from Wikipedia, oh, not in this case, often when you scrape state data from Wikipedia, it'll have more than 50 entries because it will include totals for all of the United States and territories such as Guam and Puerto Rico. In this case, no. Okay, so we have our data. So if I wanted to do something, you know, with the data, you know, US, states, and I could filter it, I could do whatever. If I wanted to tally a number of states with different governors, stuff like that, or different, you know, who leans Republican, who doesn't, I could add up the states, basic statistical stuff. What I want to focus on now, though, is how can we get this stuff into Tableau and make a map, because this is obviously mappable data. First thing I want to point out is if you look this up online, everyone will tell you you need to install packages, and this is true. rserve. And what rserve does is serve up your data to a server. Now, there's two types of servers to just keep things really straightforward here. So I guess what you call a real server that's broadcasting to the world, and then there's a localhost server, which just means your computer is broadcasting to itself, basically. If I'm confusing you, don't worry about it. If we install ours, y'all don't have to do this. I'm just going to point out that this is really complicated. Let me just go ahead and load library rserve, and then I believe we have to say rserve. Oops, we have to spell it right. Run. And I got that wrong. I believe it's run.rserve. Let me try that again. Run.rserve. Again, you do not have to do this. So it's running. And again, what that means is it's essentially like pushing data out into in theory, like a public server, meaning only that something like, say, Tableau that was trying to grab that data could grab it. And here, let me just open up a project here. I don't think that's the one I wanted to open. Oh, it keeps opening this. Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, could not find. I don't know. This is getting complicated. What I wanted to point out is, let's see, if we go to help in Tableau, I was just going to do this from an existing project, but it became kind of a headache, but it doesn't matter. Help, settings and performance, manage external service connection. So if you click that, the default is rserve. By this other one, by the way, tab pi, that's for Python. So this is localhost port 6311. So those are the default settings for rserve. In other words, if we test the connection, it should work. Now, what can we do with this? Well, that's where things get complicated, unfortunately. We have that connection now. If I was to go to one of my measures and like, that doesn't look like I can do this here, and edit it, maybe. I can, well, I'm not going to get into it because we're not going to cover it, but I can edit any of my measures. What are these? Oh, these are just like, oh, that's from, I can't find this data. That's why I can't do anything with it. I could edit any of my data fields and specify that I need to exercise a calculation. And the calculation would come basically from R. So people use this at a kind of a high level to use the computational ability of R to then send data back to Tableau and, probably visualize it, which is really Tableau's strength. So it's a way of leaning on the strengths of both. So in case it's not clear, I am not going to cover how to do that because it's way beyond our skill set, at least when it comes to Tableau. So if for some reason you did follow along with me on this, you'll notice that this stop sign is perpetual. You can't really use R while this is happening. See, this session will block until our service shut down. That's in our R window. So I can still do stuff in R Studio, but I can't do anything in R. It kind of renders it boot. So let me hit the stop button. Okay, so that's obviously not going to work too well for us. What we can do is we have this thing called US states, right? We can write underscore CSV to save this. So I'm going to specify the name of our variable, US states, and then we have to specify a path. So path equals, and paths need quotes. On the Mac, remember if we had a tilde, that's starting at our home folder, and then capital D desktop would put it on the desktop, and then we have to name the file. So I'll say usstates.csv. I'll run that line, and like lots of things in our, there's no balloons or fireworks. This kind of happens. Hey, no error message though. Okay, so what can we do with that? Well, in Tableau, I'm going to import a text file. I'm hoping. US states. Okay, so we can see, I guess we can confirm that is in fact our data. Let's see, so I'm going to start by saying, X 2016.presidential election. I was kind of making fun of this title here earlier. Let's see. We can, no, I don't want to do any of that stuff. I'm going to rename it. Let's just do that. 2016 presidential. Oop. Let me try that again. Rename. Very exciting stuff. All right, there we go. It's 2016 presidential election results. So I'm going to take that. And I want to do state. State is being recognized as geospatial. So if I click on two of those, I can use this Show Me tab. And let's click this guy and see if we get a good map. Meh, I don't like that. That's a lot better. But here, you know what? I'm going to undo this. Get out of here. Get out of here. Let's try that again. 2016. Where'd state go? State. And I'm going to click on this second one because this is a better kind of chloropleth map. Now you can see it's doing some weird stuff with our latitude and longitude here, which is a bit unfortunate. I'm going to drag presidential election to color here. That gets rid of that split. So, Republican, Democratic. Great. The colors are off though, right? We should be able to click color and edit colors. And you'll see select a data item, select a color palette. There aren't any good reds in here. So I'll go to traffic light, which is just going to be, oh, yeah, no blues there, huh? Let's see. I don't like any of those reds either. It's a little pink. Now we could create our own custom color palette. I was actually trying to save time, but I wonder if I could do Republican red from traffic light, and then I could switch this to one of the other ones for Democratic. Well, I like that blue. Blue's fine. Let's hit apply, make sure that's applying. No, that's way too maroonish purple for me, but I'll pretend it doesn't bother me. Okay. So if this is going to be an interactive map, we should add some other things. Let's see, we've got that partisan split. I probably want to rename that. This would probably be a mess if we dragged it over. Let's take governor, that's useful. I'm going to add it to detail. And so that should mean when we hover, we see governor, Republican, election results, Republican. How about state house and state senate and U.S. House of Representatives? Color. And you can see when we dragged all those in, that actually changed some things in a bad way. So let me undo. And let's just do this a little bit slower. So let's see, we added governor. I would think the House and the Senate are pretty important. So let's see if we drag this to color and let go. This is what we wanted. The field added may contain as many as 50 members. Let's add them all. Yeah, so that's causing problems, it looks like. I'm going to undo that as well. You know what? I think I was dragging that to color. And I think what we want to do, let me do State House, Senate, and drag them to detail, which is what I meant to do. There we go. When we hover over, we'll see all those options. We could do this with partisan split, but I was alluding to the idea. Let me drag the detail. It's not going to be, you know, it's not formatted well, right? Republican 26.7, and it says dash 13.8. Like we'd want to clean that up. And honestly, I would just clean it up in Excel or in R or something like that. I guess you could clean it up in here too, but there's a lot of data points, 50, I guess. Anyways, so now we've got kind of a partisan map that's interactive. It's useful if it's interactive. It's not useful if it's just a still image. So we've talked about, combining R and Tableau a little bit in the past in terms of publishing. And I'm happy to say I've found a new way to combine these pretty well. I'm going to go to Server and Tableau Public and save to Tableau Public. You know, I didn't give this a name or anything. Let me just, let's see, what should we, I'm just going to worry about it. Okay, I'll just publish it. We can always mess with it. You can actually mess with it on Tableau Public, right? You keep editing it. Save to Tableau Public. So many of you have contacted me about having an error like this, data extract required. This is a great error because it's very easy to solve. If I can remember how to do it. So you go to the data menu, Tableau data server, I thought. All right. Let me make sure. US States is active. Let me click on my data source. Yeah, there you go. Data. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what I'm looking for. US States. Let me go back to our sheet. Data. US States. And about halfway down it says extract data. Well, I guess that's the only hard part with that. This is finding it. I guess, it'll list all of your data sources in here in this data tab. So extract data. Here's the good news. It pops up this confusing looking thing. You just hit extract. I have done this 8 times and not had issues. It is going to ask me to save it. And you'll see it's actually saving it in my Tableau repository data source. Like this isn't a folder I made. This is some weird place. I've already done this. That's why it's saving over it. So what we just did is extract our data in the sense that we made it uploadable to Tableau server, or I'm sorry, to Tableau Public. So now if I save the Tableau Public, hopefully we won't run into any errors. You may hear my children screaming in the background as a normal reaction to forced homeschooling. All right, so here is our map. So that looks good. I just realized it does have the its URL includes fertility rate, which is another project I was working on. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is embedding this into an Our Markdown document, and we know we can embed this into HTML and CSS, and it works fine. I was unable to find a good solution in Our Markdown, and for a lot of us, that meant our last project we added links. So that's not ideal. Luckily, after poking around for about an hour this morning, I finally figured out a solution. Now, I can't guarantee the solution is going to work for everyone, but it worked this morning for me. So that gives it about an 85% success rate for y'all. So I'm going to create a new R Markdown file. I'll call it Tableau test. Okay, so here's our default fun stuff. And what I want to do is insert my content from Tableau Public right in here. So the way we would do this is with an iframe. Let me point out, I'm not adding a code chunk here. This is just straight HTML we're typing directly in. So I'm going to say iframe source equals, and let's just start by replicating what happens when we do this. I don't know, normally. First of all, this embed code will not work for us at all. This is, it's just going to print out in our Markdown. So we need this link. So we copy this link. I'll do this really quickly because it's not going to work. Let me save this. Yeah, test.rmd. And let's knit it. And what I want to do is point out the error. It'll show up like this, and then, if we open it in a browser, we get sad face. Public.tableau.com refused to connect. I did Command Option I for info. You don't have to do this. Under the console, it says it refused to display this content in a frame because it set X frame options to same origin. So this is something that started happening, I don't know, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, where when you try to embed content from one website to another, you get blocked unless that website that you're embedding to has been listed as a safe site. We can't get Tableau to list us as a safe site. So this whole process is going to fall apart. So this is the error that I was specifically trying to find an answer to. And here's what I figured out. Let's see. At the end of this long URL, yeah, I hope this works after this big buildup. If not, I'll edit it until it does. So I'm going to add, let's see, it says share _ link, and then I'm going to add a colon, show viz home, note the camel case, equals no, ampersand, colon, embed equals true. All right, and then you rub your lucky rabbit's foot and cross your fingers and whatever else. I'm not getting anything here. Let's hit open in browser. So that's pretty common. It doesn't like to have things show up in that little kind of like pseudo browser. Here's our real browser, and you can see it works. This is not quite gonna work for us though, right? It's a little small. So this part's easy. We can say width equals 1,000. I am making these numbers up, so, well, I found them on a help page, and they work pretty well for me, but you might want to tweak them. So I'm going to say width and height equal 1,000. You need quotes around those. Let me save and knit again. Again, ignore this. Did get the size. Good for you. There we go, and we get our full hover action. Pretty cool. And then, well, I guess there's nothing else to my report right now. So hopefully some or all of this video has been helpful to y'all to get your content published in a more visually pleasant way. And this review of web scraping and writing a CSV and publishing to Tableau Public was useful. I hope so.